unmute myself. Y'all caught me eating chips earlier. What's good? Arya, you should be able to hear me. What's
Yeah,
poppin'?
bro. What's up? What's
There
up?
might be an echo actually because I'm capturing audio out of the DAW. That could be an issue. If you guys hear an echo, let me know. If that's the case, this might be tough to fix, but we'll figure it out. Um, cool. Let's get it poppin'.
All
So
right.
thank you guys for pulling up. Hope you guys are having a good Monday. No echo. Cool. Um, First off, shout outs to whoever woke up at 5:30 in the morning. Norbu, I really
Yeah, that's
respect.
insane, dude.
You're out of your you're out of your mind. I love that. Thank you for that. Some new chats and the new people. Brom, what's going on? Norbu, what's going on? Hey Valky, what's up? Welcome to the Twitch stream. And everybody else, welcome to the Twitch stream. Let's get it poppin'.
Let's go, dude.
So the story of the song. This has been through like a year and some months. I think Areto, what's up? First time follower / chatter. Make sure you guys hit follow too. AK Running, what's poppin'? How are you? I hope you're well. I believe you're in Florida, based on our show. So hopefully you're good. Joel Cruz, my guy. Yo, I saw you're playing Webster Hall. Big ups. That's amazing. Webster Hall is special, for sure. So enjoy that. Yeah, you should be stoked. I played your remix on stream last night. I play your remix all the time. Yeah, I'll try to come. I forget what day it is, but I'll try to pull up. I don't go out much like that, but I'll try to come through. If you're gonna put me on the list, of course, I'm not gonna be out in the mosh pit, bro. That shit's gonna be too much for my old ass. Cool, all good, appreciate it. Cool. Yeah, I have a lot of my family down there, and they are fucked up right now. My grandfather or my grandmother living. I don't know why I said grandfather. My grandmother living. She lost like half the roof and shit. It's crazy in Florida.
Shit.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. So we're
All
back
right.
to back. We started. So Arya cold shot the DM to your boy. That's him. You can hear. He doesn't have a webcam.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I don't know how you living in 2022 without the built-in shit on your laptop. With that, you're probably on a desktop, right?
Yeah, I'm on a PC right now, bro. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I bought like a $15 one, just for these types of things up there,
Oh
and for
shit.
remote
Yeah.
sessions over
Yeah.
COVID. But anyway, so he cold shot the DM. I should have made a reel out of it and like showed like him. You can look, hey bro, collab, and he sent me the link, just to clown him a little bit. But I didn't do it to him because I was like, man, it's a lot of editing. But I thought it would be a fun reel. Maybe I'll do it someday.
Oh shit.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that. So he sent me an idea. I do get a lot of ideas to my DMs. It's not that they're all not good, but this one I was like, you know what? I'll take a stab at producing it, and working on it because I felt like it had some elements. There's sometimes like everything is cool, but nothing stands out to me as like this could go for like a finished product. And yeah, I guess I felt like I didn't really need to do much to the main synth. I was like, okay, like this is cool. The vocals at the time I wasn't really feeling, but I was
Yeah.
like, but I understand the digging process of like finding something like that is a process, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm willing. I have some vocals on deck. We could probably put together something. We tried a few different things. Not all of them were great, but I
Yeah.
think we got it to a place that I'm pretty happy with. So let's play the demo that he sent me on day one. He
Yeah.
said that,
Oh, before we start, actually,
yeah, let's hear
at
your side of it.
first, yeah, no, like at first when I DM'd you, it was actually for feedback. I actually asked you, hey man, like,
Oh, you're
what do you think
right.
of this? Yeah, I was just like, what do you think of it? And then you sent me an email of like what you thought of it, and then we were talking, and then I shot my pants when you were like, you want to take a shot at it together? I was like, holy shit, I was just shitting my pants, bro. And then from there on, we just kept on working for like a year straight, and then here we are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm so picky that I usually I work on stuff for like a huge block. I get like a day or two or sometimes 3 days where I work really
Yeah.
hard at something and carve it out as far as I can. And then that shit sits for like a month or 2 months. And then I come back to it and like things I hate, I'll disintegrate and I'll delete and then I replace them and then I'll sit on it. So my life is just a revolving spectrum of like 10 to 15 songs that I'm just constantly doing that with. And then when
Yeah.
they get to a point where I'm like, you know what, this is pretty much as far as I think I could take it, that's when I'm like, all right, let's schedule it out. Let's get it done. I don't have no more ideas for this. I'll send it to a few of my friends, and I'll be like, do you guys have ideas for this shit? And they're like, maybe this, maybe that. And once we exhaust every option, where it's like all my friends are giving me everything that they think that, like, all those little things, even like my girl, I'll be like, yo, like, can I get like the girlfriend opinion? Because she obviously she doesn't like make music like that, but I'll be like, can I get the girlfriend opinion? And she'll just be like, I like it, you know, or she'll say something like simple, and it just gives me perspective. Because I think when you play it for somebody else in the room, your mind is like, damn, it should do something cooler there. Damn, you should.
100%.
You know, you kind of feel a little insecure when you have that like face to face. You know.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of getting insecure, let's hear the original demo. I'm gonna do you like that. And let's see. This I'm gonna have to actually drag out of here because this bypasses the master chain, so you won't be able to hear it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. If my computer may have a meltdown during this stream, by the way. So if it does, you bear with me. Let's go. What's up, Nightshade?
You can live your life any way that you want to. You can live your life any way that you want to. Just don't hesitate. Just don't hesitate. Just don't hesitate.
Is there a transient on the sides? I think there's a transient on the side signal, which is kind of crazy. Hold on, let me listen to the sides. I think there's like kick drum on the sides. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, you got some transients on the sides. That's cool. That's crazy. He's like, shit. So I feel like I don't mind the vocals that much. Actually, I thought I didn't like them when I first did it. But I think it's a little cheesy. But I didn't mind them that much. Yeah, I think it could be cool if. I don't know. I'm not mad at it. So now let's play the final product, which I'm sure most of you guys have heard. This may be the extended. It may not be. I don't remember. No, it's not. And you can see what I kept and what I didn't keep. And then we'll start going track by track.
What you wanna hear? Tell you what you wanna hear. Tell you what you wanna hear. Tell you what you wanna hear. Whip it to the right, whip it to the left. Whip it to the right, whip it to the left. Whip it to the right, whip it to the left. Hands in the air like the roof's falling.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's the gist. There's a big breakdown here, and you know, it's the same kind of vibe. I think it keeps the same kind of vibe. Here we change up the pattern a little bit, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, that's what I changed. I thought that Arya's idea had the impact, it had swag, it felt vibey in the drop, but I felt like two things that I heard right away was that I think it needed a break from that bum, bum, bum. Like, it needed a break from that. I thought that was more special to be this part, and I thought we could do something a little bit different here. And we needed something to really hype it up in the build, because we had a transition from like ambient and like kind of R&B-ish into like club mode, you know? So the record's a little ADD because it's like the theme just switches like right here, and then the theme switches here. But I've been kind of feeling that lately because it's like that's like what works in a nightclub, and I was like, fuck it, like I kind of don't mind doing something like that. Definitely like a little different than how I normally get down. And then I added the vocal chops. Thank you. I'm glad you like them, Norbu. I added like this B section here where I filtered his chords down after processing them a ton. And yeah, I think the drums are mostly intact from your original demo. I think I added my favorite clap in the entire world. And I think that's it. And I changed the kick out because I'm really picky about what kicks I use. I usually make my own kick. And there was a transient on the sides, which I'm not letting go. And that's it. So let's start with, I guess, where should we start, bro?
I guess the intro, the breakdown.
Started the breakdown. Let's see.
Yeah.
Anything that you kept. I guess I think I wrote a chord progression here.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I think what we did was we changed the progression of the break because at the start or the V1 thing you played, you know, we just kind of had like it just kept repeating, like, you know, and then it just kind of like people knew what the drop was gonna be like if you just kept it that way. So we decided to change the progression of it, you know.
Yep, that's exactly. See, he remembers better than me. I work on too much stuff, homie. So here's the
That's good, bro. That's better, yeah.
So here's the pads. It's a contact patch. My computer could get mad at any given moment. It's a Spitfire Audio contact patch. Filtered. Spectral ambience on this one. Let's take the processing off. Let's hear it without. I don't know what my process was with this. Okay, cool. Super simple. It just feels like cinematic. And I think with this stuff, it feels more electronic. I think I typed this in and I just saw it and I was like, let's try it at the time. And it sounded really cool. Let's hear what it does all the way. Yeah, it gives you like that choppiness.
Oh, that's fire.
Yeah, that is really cool. So I did that. And that's it. That's just kind of OTT just to fuck it up. It's not really that great of an idea to put OTT on everything, but I do it. So sue me. And then there's a basic Reese, which is super simple. You'll find this in every single LSS song in some degree. This is a basic Reese. I detuned a shit ton of saws. But what I did here is I go in here and I remove the fundamental. So I don't know if you know this, but like each one of these little things lines up to a harmonic. So let me enable the keyboard and I'll show you what I mean by that. Yeah, people know about this now, but for a while people didn't really know about this. But so basically if I shut these off, you'll see that that's like that bass thing. There's a little harmonic on it from the distortion. But yeah, each one of these things lines up to, why is there a harmonic? Oh, drive in here. Yeah, each one of these poles lines up to a harmonic. A saw obviously has every single harmonic. So what you can do with the Reese is you can actually remove the fundamental harmonic and replace it with a clean sine. And the reasoning for this is that you can detune the saws like crazy. And all of them have that little Reese-like movement, but the sub stays completely fundamentally mono. So everything else can have stereo width, and we can show you that with span a little bit easier, I think. Let me switch to span. Let's go to default. Put that on side, and you can see that, oh, why are you doing this? Let me take this off. I don't know why there's no side signal. Maybe I monoed it for some reason later in the mix. That's exactly what I did. But yeah, normally, then you get completely wide, and you get a mono sub, which is pretty interesting. But for some reason, somewhere in the mix down, I slapped the mono on it for whatever reason. Oops, let me put the analog back on. Hopefully that helps. Did I explain that good? I feel like that was a little ADD.
Perfect, bro.
Okay, cool. But yeah, you can also get really interesting sounds drawing in harmonics and basses. Like if you do like a really cool bass movement, like the oscillator A and B, or oscillator A and sub, and like even a noise, you can also just draw in harmonics. Like you can just clear this and just pick one, and you can get some pretty cool sounds out of it.
That's pretty sick. Yeah.
So that's fun. All right, cool. So that's that. Chord progression was changed from his original demo. I just wrote something. There's no science between like how I write it. I just kind of go for vibe. For this type of genre, do you mainly use Splice or Arcade? Can you suggest other plugins that would be good? Plugins, I'm assuming I think you're asking me about vocals based on the fact of like Arcade and Splice, but feel free to, I guess, plugins that are good for what would be like the question. Is like a question, I guess, a good question. Way of asking that question. Sorry. I'm reading it. I'm trying to decipher it. All right, cool. So we have this. Some of the stuff I did keep from your record is a lot of the ARPs and glittery kind of stuff, which I liked. Maybe you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. You know,
That
I'm
one.
a pretty granular guy because of
Okay.
you know, Emanu. And then yeah, I like to. There's this plugin called, I don't know if you know, it's called Arya Lunar. It's a granular VST. Yeah,
Let me Google it so we can all see it.
yeah, sure.
What is it
It's
called?
free. ARGOT Lunar.
RGOT Lunar.
Lunar.
I'm
Yeah.
getting like ads for like a bag or something.
Oh shit, yeah. Yeah, that's it right there. And I don't really know the technical you know, process behind it, but I just know it makes it sound cool. So
See if I can get an image.
I
This
put
thing's-
that in, and
Cool.
yeah, man, I just mess around with the settings, and then it just kind of makes this cool element, you know. So
Cool. Oh, this is
yeah,
pretty sick.
it's
Yeah. I think you
it's
can
free.
lock it. Can you lock it in key? That's pretty fire.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So that's
That's
what I did
cool.
for our tune. Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool.
What keys are our song in? C minor, C sharp minor.
I don't remember actually. Let me look at the progression. C sharp minor, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I don't use this, but maybe I'll give it a try. I'm guessing
Yeah, you
that.
should.
How do you control like the positioning? Is there like a positioning or something that you can skim the sample?
I just sometimes, you know, I just automate like the knobs,
Just
but
random knobs, just hoping
just
for the
random
best type
knobs.
shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I just kind of like, I always just experiment with, you know, the plugins, so I just
Yeah,
don't really
that's cool.
know
That
what
you're
I'm
kind of
doing.
going in blind. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something to be said about that. Sometimes I feel like I need to do that more. Just kind of like try things and not like think about what they actually do. Because I work the
Yeah.
opposite. I just like think about what this does and how it creates, and that sometimes limits me. Cool.
Right.
So I kept we kept a lot of that. I think then there's hats in here and the breakdown, which are grouped in the music bus for some reason. But let's see. As far as synths go, granular from you. There's this little melody, which is a splice loop. It's just like a little splice art. Oh, I should probably put the respec. Shit. Whoops. What is it? Filter down? Probably. I deleted the filter because I was talking and not thinking. So that's Serum. This thing is just a contact pad. We have a driving ARP that's just splice loop pitched with a delay to widen it. Then there's a Reese, which you can see a lot of processing for that. My computer's loving this.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this one's pretty light compared to some of my other Reeses. We can walk through that in a second. Let's finish out the rest of the section. You have this counter melody here, which I kept. It's pretty fire. I thought that was really vibey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that shit's
That is
super
pretty
fire. So I kept that. I'm guessing that's, if you remember the synth, that's great. If you don't, that's cool too.
Omnisphere, I think.
Cool.
like
Yeah,
a
that sounds like an Omnisphere
Keyscape
thing.
shit. Yeah.
Cool. And then I added this. This is also to explain the vocals. This is also from Splice, and I'll show you what that sounds. But I mutilated this poor sample. Here is it without the processing, and with the processing.
That's fire.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of sound design is fun. Like what I think is fun about sound design is like blowing stuff out past oblivion, and then like re-filtering it, making it dynamic again, blowing it out again, making it dynamic again. In this case, I didn't really make it dynamic again, but I just cut off on the sample rate. I just cut the sample rate like halfway. It's a rack I use, and it just cuts the sample rate off, as opposed to a filter where it has like a nice slope. Like you see, no matter how sharp you go, I mean, I know there's brick wall filters, but you can slope a filter only so far, whereas when you just delete the sample rate, it has a very shitty sound. And yeah, that's what I did here. So let's hear it before the filter cut. You'll hear it's pretty blown. And then this is just a formant pitch right here. I just pitched the formant down. I auto-tuned it all the way, like really aggressively, just for the purpose of having it sound cool. Blew it out with a pedal, blew it out with OTT, cut out the bass because OTT loves bringing out the low key, the lows. Valhalla room just for a little space, and then right here I cut and that's where the majority of the tone goes. And you can see it's almost a straight cut down right there.
Yeah.
And then a delay for width, and then this is just to look at where it sits in the frequencies. You don't need that. And that's that. So that's cool. So this is how the song starts. There's an extended version for DJs on Beatport, which has drums and a little bit more of a longer intro. Cool. So the Reese comes in here. Everything filters up slowly, and that's how we get that vibe. Any questions, real quick? What type? Okay. Do you use mainly Splice or Arcade? I'll show you where all the vocals come from to a degree. Can you suggest plugins that are good? Honestly, if you want to find vocals, plugins are the last place to look. Go on YouTube, dig. Listen to other music, sample stuff, mess it up enough to where you can't tell, which I didn't do necessarily in this song because the samples aren't super messed up. And then I just think Splice is like a small pool of quality samples. I actually really think about canceling Splice sometimes, only to put me in a place where I stop using it. It's not that I don't like it. I hate the search engine. I think it sucks. It's like the only search engine where I can go on it and type in like the exact name of the sample, and it'll like come back.
Yeah.
I'll type in like vocal, like that like 91 vocals packs.
Yeah, you
that
gotta put the
everybody
underscores
uses.
and shit too.
Yeah, I'll copy the file name. I'll put like 91 vocals in there, underscore like whatever the girl's name is, and it'll come back and it'll be like a cowbell, and it's like, come on, bro. Like I just want to figure out what pack this came from. Like where can I find, like if I can find one more vocal that can finish this off, so I don't, what type of synths do I use? Primarily, I'll tell you right now, hold on. I like Spitfire audio stuff, even though the owner's a fucking asshole. Yeah, and you cancel Splice, you lose all your credits. I do use Arcade, but I've been kind of like trying to get away from it sometimes, but I've been on it lately. Yeah, so there's a couple Spitfire things in here. I use Contact a lot. I think Contact is super slept on in dance music, because people want stuff that works with minimal effort. And if you want to do minimal effort music, go to Nexus, and you'll sound like a minimal effort producer. But if you take stuff outside the box and make it work for you and put it in context nicely, that's what I think can develop an artist's sound a little bit more. So I use a lot of cinematic stuff, and I make it sound grittier, and I try to get it into a place where it seems soulful or seems gritty, and I think that is a big key of my sound. But yeah, I use the same shit everybody else uses, Labs. I use Serum like crazy, and that's it. That's pretty much it. A lot of these I don't really mess with too much. I use Harmer sometimes, but not a lot.
I like Diva. Diva's pretty fire.
Diva's fire, man. I just don't reach for it on a daily basis, but like it's definitely good. Silent, I don't own Silent. I think it's too expensive. So I don't use it. If it was like $60, I would probably buy it and use it, but because it's a good synth. But I don't use it because it's just too expensive, and I'm not gonna buy it. When Serum's less money, or I think it's the same price. I got Serum like the week it came out, like years ago, for like a super deep discount, but it's just hard to justify Silent being in that price. How much is that shit? And this is getting off topic. I'm sorry. I want to know now. How much is this shit? It's expensive. It's like $200 or something, if I remember correctly. How much is he hitting? Purchase. Sorry. 139 euros. That's too expensive. Faceplant is less money than that.
Yeah.
$136. Like Faceplant, I think all in is like $200. Tisk, TSK, what's poppin'? How are you? So I don't use Silent. I don't even own it. All right, let's move on. So these vocals come from Arcade. They are not processed on this computer. These are all Mac plugins. So I can tell you a little bit about what this is all about here. But I don't have a lot of these plugins. So on this computer. But here's the vocals. I'm pretty sure these came from Arcade.
Tell you what you wanna hear.
And this is just simple auto-tune, compression, a dynamic EQ to tame some of the resonances, Spectre to boost out some of the flavor and fix the vocal in the lower end, and then Neutron transient shaper. I love using transient shaper on vocals, and then the de-esser from Weiss, which is on this computer, fortunately. And then this is automated up and down to basically make it even. I think if you're using, I'm going to tell you guys the craziest, I'm going to give you the biggest tip right now. You guys, a lot of people rely on compressing vocals a lot, and I think you should, instead of compressing vocals, I think you should just automate the volume. It's that simple. And that, there's your, okay, he said mixing tips. That's the biggest mixing tip for vocals right there. Instead of fixing the gaps, you can see it's done by clip. All these little bits, like these S's are turned down manually. Like you can lean on a de-esser, but it's never going to sound as good as just going in. Apple, I think it's E to clip it and just turning them down. There's a little Max for Live plugin called Clip Gain that you can use, and it'll basically let you transition from clip to clip. This might not work super well because it's frozen, but if you clip gain, that gain pops up, and you can go from clip to clip, and it'll stay there, and you can just walk. Yeah, it's working even though it's frozen. And you can just go through and you can turn everything down. That way you don't have to keep going through the menu. And if you can get your vocal even, and listen, don't just do it by eye. Listen to your actual, like, what you're hearing. And turn down the frequencies when the S's and the sibilants are happening. If you can just manually turn them joints down, that will go a long way, you know? So, that's better than any analog compressor they're going to try to sell you. Any de-esser that has crazy dual band technology is just going in and just turning everything up to be even sounding, then putting it through like a nice sauce compressor. That's how you're going to get vocals to sit way better.
Damn, bro, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sauce. So my vocal chain has changed quite a bit since this track. Now it's usually tuning, EQ, and then I usually use a compressor or two. I clip gain first. That technique is called clip gaining, by the way. And then I'll EQ and do the sauce EQ. So just kind of sticking in that. Kind of similar changes, different plugins. And then here you can see there's a room reverb, a micro shift for chorusing, which you can hear in extreme here. The micro shift, I believe it was micro shift here, and that's turned way up, and that's where that vibiness comes from. And then there's a slap delay on it, which is done with Echo Boy. And that's the vocal processing. I listen to feedback. I listen to probably, I want to say 20 tracks a day from like smaller producers sending me stuff. And I will tell you right away, the number one thing I hear every single time is that vocal mixing always sucks. I'm going to be honest with you. Even on like decent EDM songs that are kind of big, I do not like the way a lot of producers mix vocals. So try it that way. Hopefully that levels you up a little bit. I know we kind of just went on a deep dive, but that's that. That's my 2 cents on vocal mixing. Don't rely on plugins, basic stuff, and just clip gaining it, because that shit will go so much further than any type of crazy plugin that they're gonna sell you. All right, cool. Moving on. Some effects, sweeps, the usual, little rain, nothing crazy. Let's move on to the build, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
So to transition to the build, the song kind of has like a really vibey thing, and then it's like gear change right here. Boom, you know? And to do that, we have a Reese. And this is super simple. Let's take the processing off and we'll walk through it really quickly. Let me mute my phone in a second too, because that shit is going crazy. All right, let's mute. Jesus Christ. Sorry, guys. All right, let me take off all the processing, delete all the processing, and I'll show you what that sounds like. Similar in tone, but less tamed, and that is just a bunch of detuned Reeses, a saw here, which probably is phase canceling and makes it sound interesting, and a sub, like a random sine wave. I'm sorry I said sub, but it's not really a sub. Everything is a sub. And that sounds like this with no processing. If I play it, typical Reese. And And then it has hybrid demand. This breaks every single rule I just told you on the other Reese. And I don't give a shit because it sounds good. But it's an older Reese. And a lot of times I save like my racks or whatever. So some of these are mad old. This Reese patch is probably years old. But I'll program it in and then I'll just go through all my patches. Like if I type in Reese, you'll see like there's one that sounds like an Amanu song. There's old school Reese. There's definitely more than that. I don't know why this isn't showing. Maybe because I typed in VST. But I have like a ton of racks that are just pre-made Reeses. So that's how I get it done. So yeah, distortion, widener, phaser, compressor. But the theory is simple. Detune a bunch of saws and then EQ it. Everybody's always asking me about Reeses. I don't deep dive into any type of theory. I don't know any of that stuff. I just make stuff that sounds cool. But my adage is very simple. It's just process. So here, we'll walk through the processing step by step. So here I cut the low mids. Quite often, the first thing on a Reese is that there's like a buildup of crap in these lower frequencies. So that's what that's about. And you might not hear that right away, but when you start going crazy, you'll start to see that like that affects it greatly and sounds way better. Multi-band wave shaper. Some are less pushed than others. I use that a lot. Texture to add in white noise. This basically is erosion, but it sounds different. Lets me high pass it. And you can hear it gates in some noise very lightly. Another EQ. This one does a lot. You can see how big of a difference that makes. So, and then a sides cut. Another distortion. Are you guys seeing a pattern here? It's just EQ out, give it space to breathe, slam the shit out of it. Little white noise just for style. EQ it again, EQ it again. So I'm freeing up room every time I'm doing this, and then I'm slamming it again, EQing it again, boosting it a little bit here, and then I'm filtering it. So it's just giving it dynamics or space in the harmonic air, in the spectrum. Slamming it, doing it again, and it's like, yes, it's phasing. Every time you EQ, yes, there's phase shift. Yes, there's, artifacting. Yes, and I want all that. When I'm in this sound design mode, I want all that. So I'm usually over. This is actually a really light processing chain for a Reese. Some of mine are like 3 times longer than this. No exaggeration. I'm not saying that to brag or like sound cool. Like, oh, I got more plugins. But like it's just that's sometimes what it takes to get something that sounds crazy. And like when we listen to these songs, a lot of the times it's like a lot of stuff has to be crazy sounding for us to react to it. You have to be like, damn, that sounds kind of crazy. How the hell do you do that? And it just seems like the trend in production is just over processing every single time to get those results, at least in bass music. Yeah. It's always just people are pushing processing further. Or a plugin comes out like Serum, and I'm not going to go on a huge rant, but Serum allowed us to easily modulate and like map all these effects to like an LFO. Before that, it was such a pain in the ass to do that, so we weren't doing it as much. So that's why sound progressed forward. It just allowed people to process shit more, really. Other than that, Serum's principally not that. I mean, it's good synth, great synth, but this part is just like every other synth. Silent can make the same sound, but we love it for all that, and for other things too. But that's just the gist, real quick, of how I think. My theory on overprocessors. No, I don't know anything about a neural bass process, to be quite honest with you. I don't. I don't think like that, I guess. So I distorted again, if you can believe that. There's a filter here. I just undid it. Shit, I fucked up. Oh, it sounds cool without the filter. Yeah, that sounds really cool, actually, without them. But for the context of the record, it needs to come in. This is a reverse Reese right here. And that ties that together, and that's the segue to the next section. Yeah. And then there's a reverb throw here, which is automated reverb, and that just happens here, and that's what you hear. That it's obvious what that does. What's up, 80 proof? Late, but better than never. Cool. Next section. right, sick. Arya, any comments before we move on?
No, bro, you're doing good, man. It's awesome.
I'm doing good. Okay, cool. That's nice. That's great. That's reassuring. How you guys feeling in the chat? Do we have any questions before we move on? We're 40 minutes in. Vodka water, loving the single. Thank you. I love your name. I don't drink vodka, but that's just great. I love it. Welcome to the chat. Do we have any other comments? You're dropping some gems. Cheers, brother. I'm here for it. Any other comments? Nothing, no questions, no nothing on this section specifically because we're going to move on. All right, we're moving on. So we got the build-up section. What happens to the music? I think I kept the Reese, that low-end note of the basic Reese, not the aggressive one. I'm seeing the sunrise right now. That's awesome. Jinxie says, bro, your songs are so amazing. I appreciate that. I'm still working to get better myself.
I like that.
So that happens. That just held out. All the music completely disappears. Like I said earlier, this is like the gear change for like a record where I'm like, okay, like this is too vibey. We gotta like slam it down and like move quick. And like get things going. Down here, there's just risers. I think you gave me these. They're in here. I don't think I added. Oh, I added a virtual riot one. Go figure. Wow, am I cheating now? You guys gonna? I use a virtual riot riser. I'm gonna go to bass music hell. Cool. Then there's the vocal chops, which are from the drop. We'll talk about that. Yep, cancel. There we go. I do use that riser a bit. I'm not gonna front. Cool. There's the vocal chops. It's probably the same processing on the drop, to be honest. So I'm not gonna go into that too much. But it's just a pedal, just to give it that drive. Without the processing, it sounds so boring. To me, that's where the swag comes from. I love pedal. Pedal is where it's at for this kind of shit.
That's fine. And then you chop the vocal chops from the main vocal, right?
This is from here. Yeah, this is from the drop.
Yeah,
for me, my mentality in these sections are immediate. I mean, it's obvious what it is, but like just the mentality is not complicated. It's just how do I bridge the gap between what's happening in this section and what's happening in this section.
Right.
And it's a lot of trial and error as to what parts are going to move it to the direction it needs to be in. Sometimes it comes from adding this. Like that Reese was a little bit of a, I don't want to say it was a cop-out, but it was kind of like a, I got to like smooth into this because this one is really vibey in the intro, you know?
Yeah.
So that was that mentality. This is the resampled chords. It's just filtered down. You can use an EQ or you can use auto filter. I use an EQ for this one because I wanted both in the cut. And sometimes when I use auto filter and I just pick bandpass, you just don't get the control you want. I kind of feel like this goes without saying, but maybe for some of y'all it'll help. But I just like to have control of it. And for this case, I didn't want it to slide with it. So you can do it many different ways, but I just automate that. You could obviously do it with a low cut and a filter, whatever. Not really genius production there, but just want to share that. We got a snare here, just simple Metro trap snare. I use this all the time. Pitches up a little bit. I hate doing the pitch up thing, but sometimes when you automate everything, and for this I use this stupid endless smile thing. When you automate it, it kind of works because it starts to become noise to the point where it doesn't really piss me off. So that feels tasteful to me. I don't think a lot of times I do, like I said, I hear a lot of demos. A lot of times I do hear elements that shouldn't be pitched up that are pitched up, and I'm like, that takes me out of the space. So I like the percussion stuff to be pitched up. The kicks and the snares are usually okay, in my opinion. But I don't like it. Like if you pitch this thing up, I'm immediately like out. Like it just takes me out of the vibe. So I don't do too many. I never really pitch up melodic elements. And then you have this built in back here too. Okay, it's kind of a snare roll that you chopped up or something.
Yeah.
And then we got the kick here, and that's bounced out from my kick 2. Very straightforward. This also pitches up too. What do you think about introducing the main drop and the build up? What extent should you do this home music? I think you got to do what's right for the song. Like I said earlier, it's trial and error for me. Sometimes I think it's easy when you're a beginner. I hear this a lot in beginning music too. As you can tell, I've been listening to a lot of random demos from people. I think it's sometimes weird when the song's drop is out of nowhere. So here we had to introduce this theme, and I did that with just a filter. So I think you should use this section. The builds should always be like a mediation of like between the drop and the break. You know, I think you need to mediate that section and like disappear. Some stuff from here goes away, some stuff from here comes in, and you blend them together and make it as exciting as possible. In this case, we have this vocal to hype it up even further. So let's play that. All this is washing out. I'm clipping it here too. It's not even clipping, I don't think, actually. Yeah, it doesn't even hit the clipper. And then there's this. I think that's the most exciting part of the record, to be honest with you. In terms of like that section, because now you're like, okay, this dude ain't playing, like this shit's about to get crazy. And this is just this is automated pan and a couple things to clean it up. Nothing too crazy, but it's just like a little automated, because he says whip it to the left, whip it to the right, and I thought it'd be cool. I'm not gonna share where that's from, unfortunately, because I don't want to get sued, because I took that shit out of a rap song. So that's that. But that's, I think that part ties together. That's swaggy as hell to me. The pre-drop synth fill was from Arya, so you're gonna have to explain to us how you did it. Because I think it's the best, one of the coolest parts of the song.
Yeah, 100%.
But I have my intuition on how it was done, but I'll ask him. And I actually used... That's straight out of the demo, by the way. Like, your kick drum is still in there and everything. I tried to EQ out some of the things that stood out, so you couldn't really tell in the context of the song. But I kept your pre-drop fill. I kept your snare and everything
That's
in
pretty
there.
sick, dude.
Arya, your turn. Talk to me.
All right, bro. Yeah. So for the pre-drop synth, I believe it was 5 layers. It was it was all serum patches, bro. So what I did was, you know, I just made a normal synth from scratch, and then from there on, I just keep cloning and cloning, you know, and then for every clone I get, I just tweak the sounds of it, you know, try to get different harmonics from it.
Yep.
And then I think one of the biggest thing about the sound is the pitch bend. The pitch bend I had to automate.
Yeah, that's 100% what it is.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I had to pitch bend precisely, because I was trying out different patterns for it, and you know, this one's one that like sticked out to me the most. So
Cool.
yeah, man. And after that, you know, after you got all the 5 serum patches and the pitch bends, I started processing from there. And then you know that plugin Arget Lunar I was telling you about? I added that in, and then I also I think I had just a tiny bit of reverb just to give it space.
Okay.
And then from there, yeah, that's pretty much it, bro. It's nothing crazy, you know. I like to keep my shit simple, but
So
behind the simplicity, there's like a lot of things going on too. You know? But,
so my question to you then is: this section different than the drop chords? This section is not the same synth patch as the drop chords, on, is it?
It's not, no.
Okay, cool.
I removed some of the clones in the drop.
Okay.
So you can hear more highs, I think, in the, you know, the drop element.
Yeah, for sure.
So I kind of just like got rid of the mids. So from there on, I think I processed it differently more in the drop too.
Okay.
Just to give it more, pretty much just more high end. I want more high end. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So my question to you, when you put together the synth for the serum, what wavetables did you use, or like what elements did you use in the synth?
Dude,
if you remember,
just like,
did you pick random ones or did you use the basic?
No,
ones?
I didn't do random ones. I want the for the pre-drop, I wanted a sine wave,
So
to kind of give it that plucky.
That's where
like
the weirdness come from. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the weirdness comes from. Yeah, and with the Arget Lunar, it just kind of like ties in like really well.
Okay.
And then for the drop, it was all like what's that wave called? Saw waves. Yeah, literally just saw waves.
Yeah, I could tell that was
you know?
saw based, but the pre-drop feels different. So I didn't know.
Yeah,
'cause
exactly.
Sometimes you see, sometimes you see when you go into Serum and you pick the weirder wavetables. My computer's dogging right now, so I'm sorry for the slowness. Usually I'm a lot faster. Come on, Daddy. So you really only get, you know, when you go into these things, you usually find that a lot of them are like, that's obviously saw based. That's very sine. That's kind of, it's pulse, I guess. I couldn't say square. But when you get into these types of things, everything kind of comes from a family of saw, sine, square. You know, even when you get into like the dubstep ones, which I don't really use a lot of those.
Yeah,
but like, let's say we did. That's a kick sample, but it's sine based. It's it's just not done by oscillation. You know, it's not done right. Like it's usually one oscillation per frame. But
and for the pre-drop, the reason why I use a sine is because sines work really well with pitch bends, right? And
of course,
you could see it works pretty well in the pre-drop. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So layers of sines, guys, tweaked like crazy. You know, and then pushed together and then run through granular, and that's how you got the pre-drop.
That's fire.
Cool. That's really cool. Yeah, that's one of the most interesting parts that stood out to me when I heard the demo, because I was like, damn, it's a pitch blend, but it has a weirdness to it that I haven't heard, you know, so I thought that was pretty cool, and that's one of the things I really like the most. So, very fire. Nice. Question, Nightshade, do you find more control when your drum build-up group is separate to your drum group? I've never seen that. Yeah, I've been doing that lately because I guess it just comes from a place of putting melodic elements in there too. Sometimes some of the drums will end up coming across into the build-up. It's not really like a hard rule, but I've been liking that because there's just one automation on like the Endless Smile or whatever I use to like do the build-up thing. So I just try to do it to simplify my workflow a little bit. And a lot of times I'm adding resampled layers into the build, and it's annoying to have to do it, you know, both ways. A lot of the times I'll resample my drum bus also and put that in there. You'll hear that like on the low, like you'll hear like a kick and a hat and a clap, you know, that kind of thing. So that's cool. Let's move on to the most fun part, the drop, which I'm sure all you guys waited patiently for an hour to get to. So let's start by soloing the drop. So I'm assuming you had a similar workflow for the chords.
Yeah.
But you can talk us through it real quick if there's anything else I need to know. I'm assuming you took those same chords, turn them to a saw, right?
Yeah, turn them to a saw, and then put the OG LFO tool on, and you can hear it. Was it like a 1/4? I think, right? The
yeah,
pattern.
It's a quarter. That's a quarter.
Yeah, it's a quarter. Yeah.
There she is. What's up, Blossom?
Oh shit, what's up? And then
she's verified on here. I didn't even know you could do that. That's crazy.
Dude, yeah. And then I took off some layers, and then that's pretty much it.
Cool. So basically saw not as much craziness.
No sign on it, yeah.
No granular either, right?
No granular either, yeah.
Yeah, damn. That's fancy is what that is. She got a blue check everywhere she goes. That's living big dog life. I heard that when you get a blue check, you be going into like parties and you get to like I heard you could hang out with Drake. I heard you go to orgies. I heard crazy shit happen.
That's crazy.
No, I'm just kidding. All right. So there's the chord breakdown. Let's show us what Arya gave us. I heard Drake calls. So we got some serum layers. I don't know. I thought maybe you get invited to like secret, hey, we're verified parties. Okay, that's weird. Okay, cool. Sub. Okay, that's like a non-detuned noisy synth. Oh, I took this one out. I thought it was
that's
purple
too
check
weird.
some partner. I know, I'm just busting your ass, Blossom. That's what friends do. Okay, that's more of like a super saw vibe. I would say that's like the most main character one. That one's really detuned to the point where it sounds kind of nasty. Yeah. That's some weird.
Wait, did you add all that in the drop? Is that all?
Yeah, it's all in there. It's all in there.
That's actually pretty crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that stuff is cool. Those are vocals that you chopped up manually.
Yeah.
You don't even remember doing this shit, do you?
I totally forgot. I don't remember putting vocals in there.
You, bro. I don't remember I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a guitar. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, another synth. No idea what the hell that is. That's granular shit, I bet. I feel like
bro, love
granular. Yeah. Same with that.
Alright, maybe I lied when I said I put 5 layers, bro. That's more than 10
now he's
already.
telling us false information because you don't really remember. That's alright though. I ain't judging. Yeah, so there's a lot of layers in there. I don't normally get down like that, but it worked. So
I think layering is.
That's why we work with other people, right? Is to try different shit. And it kind of leads to the point I was trying to make earlier, where it's like to make sound kind of interesting, you sort of have to go the extra mile and do weird shit. to get results that catch people's ears. Because when you start with Serum, you detune some saws and you hit it with like a couple things of processing. It's like, all right, this sucks. Like, where do I go? You know? So you kind of have to have like the patience to go through, follow it through, and just stack, and then at the end of it, clean up. Which I kind of did a little bit. I turned some layers down.
100%. Yeah.
You know, I processed it in a group together, and we ended up with this. So I didn't change a lot in this song. I added vocal chops, and I added this, which is your leads resampled. So I just bounced this whole thing out.
Oh, you put Quanta? Nice.
And then I put it on Quanta, and I put it on grains, 10. I left it on 10. Technically a little off time. I kept it like that because I thought it was cool. But if you want to be on time, you take the BPM of the record and you divide by 120, and you come up with that, and then you multiply that by 10, and you get 10.66. So I was off a little bit, and then you can actually hear it in the record, and I don't care. I thought it was cool. I did it intentionally, but that's the math behind it. I thought it sounded swaggy, like a little stuttered and a little fucked up, because I thought it was a little chaotic, and I like that, you know?
Yeah.
And how this works is I dragged the original sample in there, and I just found the positioning to play the note that was missing right here. And if you look, assuming that section is what I resampled, you can see that lines up, that playhead lines up exactly to where it should be. So that's where the glitches come from. So that's cool. Little future housey in a way, but I kind of liked it because it was weird future house, and I thought that was really cool. So yeah, that's what we got here. That's that. It all goes to a bus, and on the bus I did some processing. I added a lot of excitement, and oh, that's low end. I think there's excitement coming from something. Then I EQ'd. I think those are resonances and weirdness. That's to de-brighten it a little bit because I think it was harsh there. And then on here, I use this compressor to brighten it. Without it, it sounds a little different. And that's where that comes in. And then I cut it again. And then I think I just made the bass mono and widen up the low mids. And I tighten the highs. I like it when the highs are a little bit less stereo because I think it adds... Mono has such good texture. And I think sometimes when you stereo things, it starts to lose that. So, and then I did this again for some fucking reason. How do you layer so many things with different notes? Arya, that's you, buddy.
How do I layer so many things with different notes? Honestly, bro, I don't really think of the notes when I'm layering, to be honest. Like, I just kind of pick a lot of different sounds that I think is really cool and that could fit the main sound. And I think if you're layering with, you know, even something that you can't hear, it still adds texture to the sound, you know? Like, that's why I think layering is one of the most, like, creative things you can do when you're making music. And it just really builds the sound from scratch, you know?
Cool.
So, yeah.
So you're not really acknowledging key, but you are running these through the granulizer, and I did notice that it had key lock on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And, you know, like, I'm no god at theory, but I think my ears can catch what's in key and what's not, you know?
Yeah, most of them sound right. Some sound a little crazy, but it's chaotic, and it's on key. It sounds a little chaotic in terms of how detuned they were and stuff, but it worked.
Yeah.
And that kind of added. Once I tried muting some of these things, and it didn't sound as cool with it.
Right.
With it.
Yeah.
So he asks, is quantized just like arpeggiator? So it's just quanta. It's just a granular synth. To be honest with you, it's no different than any of the other granular synths out there. It just has slightly different things that you can do with it, and it has a really nice interface. If you are an Ableton user and you don't want to spend money, I don't know if I have it on this computer, because I don't use it much because I have Quanta. Oh, here you go, Granular 2. I don't think it's on my laptop. Come on, Daddy. Yo, the computer's really having a tough time doing this stream. So this is the same thing, basically. It just has it's just a different interface. But you have the grain controls right here, and you can scan it with this. It's just easier to automate and work with Quanta because I just don't like the way this one looks. But this is free, so it's like if you don't want to spend the money and you want to play with it, I mean, all sorts of people are using Granulator 2. Fruity Granulizers, obviously, I haven't used that one yet, but it's just, yeah, there's tons of them. So it's just a granular synth, and what it does is it just plays back the audio in a weird, chopped up way. It chops up from grains, basically. It breaks down the song, or the sound, the sample, into grains, and it chops them up. Different way of doing stuff. We love Quanta, that's right. Love Quanta, although it is getting a little played out. I get a lot of people trying to use it now because Amanu has kind of brought it to the forefront. But it can still be used in a creative way, and I think that's creative. I don't think it's as cool anymore now to just use it to use it, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
So there you go. Any advice for young beginner producers? And also thoughts on music theory. Just keep going. That's my only advice. Just keep going. Music theory is very important, but not necessary. Just knowing what sounds good is all that matters. There are no rules to this shit. It's just about, can you make something that makes people feel something? Whether that feeling is excitement or whatever you're trying to convey.
And then to that, I want to add in, like Fred again posted on the story that, like, you'll never learn anything from a piece of music you never release. So, just put your shit out, and then if it's, it's not going to be a one-hit wonder, but you got to learn that way, right?
Facts. All right, cool. Let's move on. So one of the issues that this song had was when I added the vocal chops later on, it was really fun to mix such a full forward synth versus a vocal. So here's the vocal and the balance. I tried to pick one to drive. And I think I got the vocal right where it needs to be, and I'm happy with that. I feel good about that, but that was a challenge. I wasn't sure what should drive, and I ended up putting the vocal just a hair over that synth. So without the chop, without the processing, this is what the vocal sounds like. And you can hear the top end of the vocal sounds pretty rough, and it's just not that appealing, and the tone is kind of average. It's also panned a bit to the left, which is weird. But once I run it through there, it doesn't do that. So let's start with my processing chain on this, and we'll talk it through. Pedal sounds amazing on vocals. If you notice the trend here, it's blow it out and then fix it and tame it back. This is taming that. If you I thought it was taming that, but I guess it's just not that bad there. Oh, it's soothed later. That tames the low mids. Here we have this. That kind of tames it a little bit more. Another multi-band dynamics. I thought this sounded good. Oh, no. I did some magic shit on this one. I'm sorry. I lied. This is actually a multi-band gate. So that's gating the top end of the vocal. I don't remember. Damn. It's been too long since I've done this song, since I've worked on this, so let me hear what it does. The stream will be recorded and saved. I hope so. It should be. So that's just a multi-band gate. I don't think it stayed. I think, or there was a trail or something that was annoying me, and that's why I did that. There was a reason. I don't know what it is. Soothe fixes that annoying top end. That's a shortcut. I should have, you could do it with EQ. This is a reverb. And then there's that spectral. This is the way to go. The spectral shaper. It sounds better than Soothe, in my opinion. And how this works is you select a frequency area that's bad. You could solo it to hear what you're selecting. And so in this case, I wanted to tame the top end quite a bit. And you'll hear a major difference when I press play, hopefully. So it cleans up a lot of that noise and like kind of nastiness. It's pretty subtle. I thought it was a little bit more aggressive, but I did set it to light. If I go to medium, it'd probably take too much. But yeah, you can hear a lot of that noise getting taken care of. And the purpose for this is it just sounds better than Soothe to me. Soothe is like a really aggressive tool. I love it. Can't live without it, but a lot of time it takes character out of the sound. This tends to not do that. So I did that, and then I distorted it again, and you've got yourself a lot of crunchy vocal delight. And it sounds really good in context, but by itself it does sound a little overly distorted. So that's that. And the vocal sample is just a ooh, 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 or whatever, chopped up quite a bit. What's the plugin between Sooth 2 and Spectral? That's just a reverb. It's called M Convolution Multiband. It's just a melody reverb. It's a very short reverb. I'll turn it up all the way so you can hear it. That's it. Nothing crazy, just a room reverb. But I like the way that sounds, specifically those presets. My air conditioner's going off. Is it loud, Arya? Can you hear it?
It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it on for a minute then, because it's getting hot in here. Cool. So that's the vocal chops, and that's the processing. I don't always use. People always. We are catching some noise. Let me shut it off then. People constantly are asking me like about vocal presets and processing. Every vocal is different. Every time I process is different. There's never the same thing twice ever. I don't even rack them. Yeah, you could just play with stock reverb. It's just a tight reverb. So that's it. Yeah, cool. So let's hear that. Cool. That's it. That's the whole drop. Now we got this section. How do you get rid of any hearts? Was it Soothe? Yeah, I just walked through this. Isaac, I'm gonna kill you. Hi, Isaac. I'm gonna kill you. There was Soothe. Then there was a reverb. Then there was Spectral Shaper from Ozone. I just hopped in. He said it's okay. I'm just gonna bust your ass for that. It's just Spectral Shaper. Which yeah. So there you go. It sounds better than Soothe and Short. And then I distorted it again. So that's everything all in. And then let's go to the B-side. Any questions? Arya, anything to add?
I was gonna ask a fun question actually. So with all that chaotic going on, you kept the drums very in front still. How did you manage to do that, bro? That's pretty crazy. Because we'll get to that later, but like
I think in this case, I personally have a little bit of a thought, and that's that if you're gonna keep the pattern of the song crazy, I think it's most effective in popular music, because you can do the experimental music thing. It's got to be simple on the drums if it's crazy in the drop in terms of the synths. If it's going to be simple on the drop, I think it'll be more interesting for the groove to be carried by the drums, or the drums can be more experimental, which is why like liquid drum and bass is like such a cool contrast to like this, because the drums are so well articulated and so interesting that it can make held out long chords and a long grease. It's very static, very exciting, is because the drums are carrying the record, and those people, producers, tend to spend more time on their drums and the vibe. In a song like this, I think the drop has to be interesting. If we're gonna stay to 4/4 drums, and the drop has to be really chaotic and funky, for it, those sounds need to be really funky to keep it interesting. Otherwise, the drums are 4/4. We've heard 4/4 so many times that it's not going to be interesting to us in any case, So we have to do that with the drop. So in this case, I think, to answer your question on a mix level, I will explain. So the drop is processed to hell on the bus as well. Let's take all that off. I really struggled with this mix, and I'll tell you exactly why I struggle with it. The vocal chops, versus the chords. The chords are so full spectrum that the vocal chop was getting buried by it, and my brain didn't know what to pay attention to. But I felt with just chords, it sounded very plain. It lost the sauce. With just the chords, it was cool, but it was a little too Don Diablo for me and not swaggy enough, So I added the vocal chops in, but then later I was like, I regret this because the mix is going to be terrible because the vocal chops feel buried. So obviously we talked about that. I just kind of made sure that it was really just leveling. It just had to be right over those vocal chops here, and the synth chords had to just be a hair underneath them, and that worked for me. With the drums, they're pushed to the limit via clipping right here. And you can see on the mini meters, if you guys look down on the stream, the meters, they're ripping, and I also have a little distortion on them here. Oh, it's off. It's off. Don't listen to me. Not on. Okay, cool. And then there's just a high-end boost here. Very subtle. So it's just clipped, right? And it's clipped to a point where the drums are up front as they can be before they go into the master chain. And then the side chaining kind of handles the rest. And you can see how that comes together there. The side chain's perfectly in time, and the bass is perfectly in phase with the kick, and the side chain is getting everything out of the way. So I think the side chain is doing the lifting in this case. To give you the answer to that. So that's that.
And your way of side chaining is obviously a little different, eh?
Just Pro C.
Just Pro C, okay.
Yeah, it's just Pro C. It's just a compressor. I don't use any crazy ducking plugins or anything like that, and I trigger it from on these now it's triggered from the rack. So what I do is I just have, okay, it's not. It should be from a rack. On the newer project, this is an older project, there's a trigger here, and this trigger just triggers operator, and it just makes a little click, and it gets muted, and that click is just what triggers the compressor. So I just use a compressor. I've tried Volume Shaper, I've tried LFO Tool, I've tried all those fancy-ass plugins that they'd be selling you on the internet.
And they make clicks.
Yeah, they either make clicks, or they fall out of time when you put bus processing on. They all suck. The Pro C or even the default, you could even use the default compressor. I think you'll get a better result if you set it up properly, because I don't like any of that shit. I don't like any of those for compression or for sidechain. I don't think it sounds as good. I don't think it's as intuitive. I hate adjusting that volume shaper curve. I used that for a little while. That shit sucks, bro. Like the interface for like volume shaper when you're like touching the thing, it's just not intuitive. So I just keep it to a compressor, and it sounds better than every other. I've tried them all, and I think it sounds way better. Have you seen people use utility for sidechain? That's cool because you can draw on a curve, but that's too much work for me. And it works, but I don't think it can be as precise. And I also think that, you could do it. There's a million ways to skin a cat. That's just my way of doing it. And you could do it the other ways, and it'll be just fine. I'm sure tons of good producers do it the other way. Let's do the B side of the drop then.
All right.
So here we have, this transition happens. There's like the Reese makes an appearance again. It's the same Reese from before that we broke down. And that makes the transition. And that goes into that yoink. That shit is aggressive.
Yeah, that's fine.
And this is made from a sound design session. Oops. This is made from a sound design session. It's frequency shifted. It has a little bit of top end removed from it because it was a little harsh. It's widened with a free stereo widener. And then it's a reverb with a low cut and saturator and a soothe because it really is harsh. Without all that stuff, it just sounds rough. All right, good luck. Have fun at school.
Good luck, man.
So that's that. I have a bunch of these. It's just like a pew. There's tons of these in my samples. And I'll show you. This was all made in one session, one patch. There's like 7 of them, and they all go like this. Some of them are stretched longer than others, and you can see what they look. Someday. Yeah. So they're all like variations of the same thing, and the reason I do so many variations is because you never know. If you're going to want a variation for like the next fill or whatever, which I think is exactly what I did here. It's the same, 2 different versions. Hope the video will be saved. It should be saved. I don't see why not. And that doesn't sit amazingly well, but it happens so short and it's sidechain that it works. So
yeah.
I didn't spend a lot of time on that sound because it just felt like it was an accent and didn't need to be like crystal clear and perfect.
Yeah.
And then your chords are filtered down.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, but I remade the chords.
Oh, you did?
I did something, yeah. Oh, I grabbed it in Quanta. Held it out in Quanta so I could get like a long sustained chord. Let me show you guys what that sounds like with no processing on it. So I just did that for... There you go. So Yeah, there it is.
Oh, that's pretty
so,
crazy.
So I sampled it right there. And OTT'd it.
And then you
EQ'd
filtered it.
And
Yeah.
then I filtered it down in LFO tool. And filtered it down here. So. And that's that. So yeah, there you go. That's how I did it. And that moves chords. I automated it to move chords. I forgot I did this. This song's so freaking old. Yeah, there you go. So that's how I got the 2 chords. Cool. That's really cool. I forgot I did that. Go me.
Nice.
And then there's a sub. It's a year and some change old. Then there's a sub here. And that's just a simple sign. But if you guys caught my Redemption EP, you'll know that sometimes I add a harmonic or 2 to the sign, and that bricks it, so it gives it the appearance that it's clipped. It's just louder and more efficient, and that's what I did. And then I just copied the same LFO from the other one, and then I distorted it a little bit, and you have this. Ooh, okay,
Fire.
cool. I don't know. There, I guess it comes up a little bit there. Nice. Something got broken, automation wise. I don't know what the hell just happened, so let me just do a couple undos and see what happened. There it is. Come on, daddy. Oh, don't crash on me, please. Don't crash. Okay, cool. Yeah, something broke. And then we go back into the next section. The Reese ties it together, so that's kind of like my switching point. And that's how I switch without annoying sweeps and effects. I think this was just a MIDI reference for like the chords, so I can make sure that I grab the right one at some point. I don't remember what that's for. Maybe I was experimenting with something else. Then there's a rap vocal, which is chopped up, and this is processed a little bit as well. But it's really nothing that crazy, just a couple reverbs and stuff. Hold up, I'ma keep it going. And it has like a really annoying little pop in it that you can't hear in the context of the song. Oh, you can hear it a little bit, but it's not annoying there. And that's because when I sidechained it all the way, it sounded a little awkward, so I didn't sidechain it all the way.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Don't forget to hit follow too. I would love you all if you all followed me on Twitch. What else? Do we have any other questions on the drop? Do we have it? I think that covers most of it.
Yeah.
This can get.
I think it just goes to like a different rhythm on the 8th bar. Or
yeah, we
16th
did
bars,
switch
right?
up
Yeah.
the rhythm. Yeah, this
Yeah.
part happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I stuttered everything quite a bit differently, and I automated how I stuttered it or what positioning. The position's automated differently. And let me see, drum kit suggestions. Not really. To be honest,
2.
I use really simple drums. Like I don't use crazy shit, and if I need crazy shit, then I just look for it. I don't think I have. So thank you for the follow hole. Thank you, Nightshade. I appreciate it. I'm trying to do the Twitch grind. So all those follows are definitely helpful. No, I use a lot of simple 808s, simple claps. I don't use crazy drums. If I do, I sometimes make them if I want to go crazy. My kicks are usually made by me because I hate the kicks on the internet. But I think each kick and each song, depending on the mix, needs to be like kind of custom. You know what I mean? And I think it's easier to just make it yourself. We can talk about that in a little bit. We go over drums. So yeah, we switch up the pattern. I added this quanta in here. It stutters every other now. It breaks up even more. It's more chaotic. Sublins.
Oh, limbs.
And we chop the vocal different. Back to back, we keep it going. Then there's this little mix out section. The filter down comes in here again. So it's kind of like the B kind of goes, keeps going. And then, thank you guys. Similar breakdown. Same kind of thing as the first one, except the Reese stays the whole time this time. Drums come in here, just top end. Filter down a little bit. Back to the hook. Build up happens again. Same elements as last time.
Yeah, and then we go with triplets right here.
Alright, now we switch up the rhythm. So what I did was I just bounced the whole chord section out, and I just drew it in. Didn't I do that? I'm pretty confident I did that. Nope. Let's see here. How did I do this? Is it done in Quanta? Oh, the Quanta just comes back. Where is it? Where is Quanta? Where are you? Why are you not in here? What the hell? That's the vocal chop. Oh, it's frozen and rebounced here. Maybe no, that's the vocal chop. And you can tell how I did the vocal chops. I put it in a simpler, and I just chopped it up. You can actually see my process here. This is good to have. Cool. This will help you guys a lot. This is how I came up with the vocal chop. I took a simple sample from Arcade, and I chopped it up. And I just chopped it up like that. It's obviously a really simple chop, and I probably didn't need to chop it like that, but at the time, I was trying to come up with a pattern, so I just chopped it based on each phrase. It ended up staying the same, but sometimes you can come up with really cool things by just slamming on the keyboard for a little bit.
Did you already think of the melody before you had it out, or were you just kind of playing around with it and then you figured it out? Just playing around?
I usually put it on keys like this, and I just jam. I'll just like slam keys.
Fire.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and you'll hit stuff, and you'll be like, "Damn, that's hard." So if you do that, you can usually come up with an idea pretty quick. And if you can't, then you can't. But so there was processing on these before it got amped. This is probably. So that probably was. This was probably before the processing that I said it was on this. Before, if that makes sense. So I probably bounced it out of here. I also like the way it sounds when you chop it up like this. And I also like doing that sometimes and putting a little bit of space at the end. Like sometimes it's fun to go like this. And if you turn the sampler to gate, oh my god, the computer's lagging so bad. And if you put the sample to gate, sometimes it works. That little bit of space sometimes makes a difference. It's kind of hidden by the reverb. But sometimes that little space is fire. So take it for what it's worth. That's something to experiment with. Where the hell? Oh, here we go. Chord chop. That's it right there. So I bounced the whole drop out. I use resampling. In Ableton, you just press resample. Or you can pick the item. So if you type in chords, you'll get chords. And you can type it in. And then if you just press record, you can play back the chords right back in. So for me, usually, I'll just do the whole drop. When it comes to doing, I already did this already once. It's probably going to pick the wrong channel. But come on, drop. Pick the right thing. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, drums. That's not what I want. So what you can do is you can. Wow, latency's crazy right now. The computer's not happy with us today. All right, so to get back on track. Sorry guys, the computer is a little slow. I'm normally a lot faster when I'm working with this. When I'm working without the stream. So you could take this. And you can come up with different patterns. So we could chop this, and we can even slide it over like this, and you can come up with some cool ideas like that. You know, time stretching it like this. And that's a cool way to come up with variations. In this case, I did triplets. So I took a 3, condensed it down like this, slid the 3 in like that, and you got... And that's some funky shit right there. So that's where that came from. So Quanta. So that's just resampling and creatively warping it a little bit. So if anytime you guys are stuck on like let's just use like a whack VR sample real quick. Not that they're whack, but like they're just played out. Let's take something like this. Let's say this is your drop. and you're like, damn, like that feels kind of static, just open that thing up and double time it. Let's duplicate it first. We'll double time it. And this is how you can come up with some really cool variations quickly. So now you can grab a double time, listen to a double time. So I like that little bit right there. And you can just start coming up with variations and rhythm really quickly. Doesn't really work as the sound's there, but you can, and it's a little boring to just kind of take this, but yeah, you can. So yeah, so you can come up with that, and I just warp them in creative ways. Like I'll grab a triple, and I'll warp it like this, and nope, we gotta cut it here. So just slice your clips, cut them up, and you can go. Let's try this. So yeah, some ways. That's really nasty sound, not really my thing, but yeah, that's just how I come up with variations on chops and stuff like that. It's just simply warping stuff and double timing stuff, half timing stuff, resampling. Would get you some pretty cool results. So that's how that came up. That's how we came up with that. Let's go back now. And I think that's the only major variation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest is just there. It's the same as before. Same wub, same shit. I think it's weird to go too crazy on the second drop unless you have like this genius idea. But in my 2 cents, I'd rather have an ill drop rather than like a lackluster drop and then like a really good idea in the second drop. I'd rather just have one hook and one variation of that hook. Sticks to the original theme. So I can't say it was like a super high effort secondary drop because I didn't think it needed to be honest. There's already so much going on. What could I possibly add to make it like crazier, you know? Any comments, Arya? Any questions in the chat?
I think that covers it all, eh? Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. We didn't really cover drums. Used a lot of drums that I kept. Let's hear the drums straight up. I kept a lot of your drums. I just changed out the kick and I layered the clap.
Oh, nice.
I layered the hat. I'm sorry, and I layered the clap. Yeah. That's it. So most of this is just processed a little differently. I think this section is panned a little bit, auto panned a little bit, and it's just soothed a little bit. I think there was some nasties in there. It was just like a little too bright. There's something sitting in there. Those are just like the ghosts. They're sidechain. This folder's a sidechain folder for the drums. I added this amen break. It's literally just the amen break. It's not playing because the computer's having a fucking crisis right now.
What does kick 2 look like?
It's just a synth. It's really simple.
I'll show
it to you.
Yeah.
So it's just a synth. And you can just draw
and then
in.
you just make. Oh, okay. So you just make your own
so
kick
like,
there.
let me show you what it looks like when you start. You can tell it's an LSS kick. Yeah. I use the same kicks. I just have like a variation of them, like of each one. And I'll show you how to do this really quickly. So it starts with this like really annoying. We're not gonna do a super big deep dive, but I'll do like a 5-minute walkthrough of kick 2. So this is it. It's just like a synth. It generates a sine wave. And where it differs is like with Serum, you could argue that you could do the same thing in Serum. But the reality is in Serum, it's very hard to get the curves and the notate. It's just difficult to get it as detailed as you'd like for a kick. Whereas here you can zoom in, you can get really micro detailed. And basically you're just drawing in pitch changes. So really all this really is a sine wave synthesizer that just goes all the way up to the top of the spectrum, all the way down. And you can just you can draw the pitch in a very detailed manner. And you can tune it, obviously. You have some other features, too. You have distortion. There's 4 different types. There's a big, like, master distortion here. And then you can layer in clicks, which I don't recommend doing because I think it's stupid. But the reason I don't think it's good to layer clicks in, and this could be useful for snares. You could make, like, really cool snares in here. Sampling stuff. But, like, I think it's weird because you can draw the click in here. And I just don't care for kicks that have, like, drums mixed into them and stuff. I think that's weird personally. I prefer just a perfect sine wave because I think if you go in here and you do this, you have to shut this EQ off too. Oddly enough, the EQ isn't actually on until you like I don't know, it's weird. These aren't even on until you turn them on in here. It's like super stupid how that works. So you actually have to go. You can't just EQ it. It doesn't work. It's such a bad design feature. Because you actually have to go into the EQ and turn these nodes on. Like, look, it's not actually changing the highs until I go in and turn that on. It's super dumb design flaw. But I guess my point is with as soon as you get into EQing, you're starting to get into like phase issues. Like it'll start changing the phase of the kick drum. So for me, I just stick to distortion and drive. I don't use the compressor. I disable the limiter right away. You can actually render the kick out right here, which is really useful, and drag it right into Ableton, which is pretty fire.
Oh shit.
And I don't want this to be a sales pitch for kick, but I think it's really cool because you can draw in a kick drum the way you want it. And where I think it can be interesting is you can draw in. So instead of EQing a current kick, like let's say you need more knock at like the 200 stage, you can just double click this and just draw in 200 hertz for an extended period of time. So let's tighten this a little bit, and let's take this and let's go like this, and let's change the amp settings. Let's get it to be a little bit beefier, like that, and let's see how this kick sounds. Okay, so there's a kick. Let me turn it down. There you go. Now it's not getting clipped to death. So there's that. And you can just go in there. Now we can distort it. And that's it. You can go in and you can literally, so if you want to add more top end, you can just go like that and you get more top end. Instead of messing with an EQ, you can actually just treat this like an EQ and draw it as you see fit. And do I tune my drums? Yes and no. My kicks don't have a tune. They actually just go right down to 0. Because I think it's more interesting. I think it's weird when a kick plays a note. I just don't like it that much. I don't think it's as powerful. So my kicks generally don't have a tune. They just go all the way down to a pretty low frequency. But sometimes they get faded a little shorter before the sub comes in, and that creates a tune. But I don't like it when the kick drum is the bass. I think it should be the bass line as the bass. So my kicks tend to be short, and I think that's probably what Isaac hears when he says you can tell it's an LSS kick, is because I generally mix my kicks pretty short. So if you listen to this, this is a modified. Let's hear the original kick. So you can hear the kick. If you look at the meter, it's not super short. It's pretty short, but the bass is actually driven by the by this, and that's where you're hearing the note. So I'd prefer my kick to stay out of that and not be involved in the musicality of the record. So in that sense, I stay away from that. I don't like it when the kick is playing a defined note. I think it's weird musically. In a lot of cases, I don't think it's weird, but I just prefer in my songs not to do that.
Dude, yeah, that's a pretty sick plugin though. I'm not gonna lie.
It's very cool. Yeah, it's very cool. So that's that. That's kick 2. That's like a brief on why I use it. I think it sounds better. When it comes to snares, yes, tune snares. But I don't tune my snares in key necessarily all the time. I think it's weird also to assume that everything needs to be in key. I think stuff stands out more when it's out of key, so take that for what it's worth. I think it's cool when stuff is incorrect in that sense. Because it could still be musically right. And I think that's the biggest argument when it comes to tuned drums, is that people quite often think that when you say tuning drums, you think that it needs to be at a perfect fifth or the perfect root of the note. And I just think if you want your drums to stand out, I think it's stupid to like make them sit in the mix that well. I think it's purposeful to tune them out of tune, and I think you'll find you'll have better results messing with that. But there is no question in my mind that some drums, clearly, and kicks and snares, sometimes they play a defined note. They have a fundamental. They clearly play a note. It's arguable if that's truly fundamental when you hear like a snare hitting at like 250 hertz or whatever. But I think that it's notes. It's a note, and at the end of the day, a harmonic or a note can definitely change the way a record feels, especially when it's played as much as like the main snare. So in my opinion, there's some value. I don't want to say emotional because it makes you think sad, but it's not what I'm trying to say. I think it can change the attitude of a record greatly if you tune your drums to the wrong notes or right notes. So take that for what it's worth.
Fire.
All right, let's wrap it up. I think we're almost done. On the drums is a clipper. On this drop bus, Goldfoss. This is doing the heavy lifting. I had a lot of trouble mixing this record. I wanted it to sound warmer. I wanted it to sound better. But there was an excitement that kept missing every time I'd mix it down and not have so much brightness on that synth. So I ended up with these settings. This is just a tube thing, distortion thing that I greatly love. This is high end on the whole bus. This is all the drop bus, by the way, guys. This is just EQ filling in the gap, making it warmer here, a little brighter here. And then this is just a low cut on the sides, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's on the sides. And then a high cut to let the drums breathe a little bit better at 16. If I shut that off, you're not going to notice a massive difference, to be honest with you. You don't hear it much, I'm sure. There's a slight difference, but... And then there's this compressor here, which is an exciting compressor. And that's where a lot of excitement comes from. Then there's another Goldfoss, just in the mid-range. What is this one doing? I did a lot of that. I never use this plug-in. And then there's that one too, adding excitement. Then at the end there's a limiter. Limiter and sidechain. And that's it. That's the drop bus. Then when you go to the master bus, just the EQ, it's just boosting the highs, cutting a little bit of the mids at 1K, and boosting the lows at 140, warming the record up a little bit. That's it. It's off right now because it's killing my freaking CPU. Slight clipping, 4 dB. And this is the master you guys hear on Spotify. I didn't have this mastered by anybody else, and then there's just Pro L. That's it. Nothing else to it, just a limiter. All this shit is my monitoring, all the meters, so Arya can also hear it too. And just wave candy, all the metering, nothing else, nothing crazy, span. That's it. That's the song, guys.
Fire, dude.
I don't think there's much else to discuss. For the last 5 minutes, or last minute or two, if you guys have any questions, I'm super down. If not, I'm going to get some work done. Arya, anything else to add?
I just want to thank you for having me on your stream, bro. And, the
Gotcha.
chat for pulling up. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, man, I'll talk to you guys later. That's fire, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming through, guys. I'm glad you guys appreciated the breakdown. The video should be up for a month, so you guys can refer back to it or whatever. Yeah, I don't really have much else to add, I guess. If anybody else has any questions. Do you think if you mix your track really well, do you need an intense master?
Absolutely
I think
not.
master chains are bad. Don't use master chains, please. Because what happens is it colors your track in a not so good way, and it causes, every single time you make a move in audio, there is an artifact. Do not EQ the lows. Yeah, there you go. Blossom's a great example. She was sending me demos, and I'm always like, man, this mix just feels like it could be wider. And she's like, well, I have the stereo widening going crazy. I feel like it could be this, it could be that. And she's like, always like, I'm doing that. As soon as the master chain comes off, the songs got wider. They felt bigger. They felt brighter. They felt stronger, warmer, all of that. And I think master chains put your shit into a box. So my theory and my process is to have the master chain stuff delegated, or like more aggressive stuff, is on the buses, and away from the master, because I want the drop to have a certain flavor. You don't season your whole meal the same with the same seasoning if you want a really good, vibrant, very, you know what I mean? Imagine go to a really nice restaurant, the appetizer, dinner, the drinks, and the dessert all tasted the same, and it was different shit. It'd be weird. You'd be grossed out. Don't do it to your master. So just try to mix it as good as you can with the limiter, and that's all you need, to be honest with you. And I think everybody I tell that to, they go through like a month of hell, including myself, because I was at that point when I first started. I was doing a master chain thing. I had all this compression, OTT, you name it. I was putting all sorts of crap on a master. And I went through like 5 or 6 weeks of being like, dude, I can't fucking mix. I suck at mixing. What am I doing? But then when I broke through and I started getting my shit a little bit better, and I wasn't overly exciting all my mix downs with all these crappy things on a master, my mix downs were hitting so much harder than a lot of people that I kind of looked up to be honest. I was like, damn, my shit's really starting to hit. And it was a big piece of that was not using a master chain. So yeah, I would not fuck with that. Even like, I'm gonna do one last thing before we go. Arya knows what I'm about to do.
Oh shit.
So even if we go to this is really slow right now. Sorry. And then we go
Some
down.
classified shit right here.
Here you go. I'm gonna show you something that's gonna fuck your whole day up. All right, we're gonna do. Let's do this. Let's do a square, actually. Hold on 1 second. Square. Let's do a square. Actually, let's do a sub. Let's do like a fat sub. What is a fat sub? What is that? What does that do? Okay, cool. It's kind of like how I would do a sub. You can drop that out, and we'll have like a really fat sub. And there we go. So we have this, and it comes into here like that. We'll turn it up. It's on mute, so let me play it for you guys like this, okay? And I know what you guys are thinking. Okay, it's a sine wave. Really interesting. When you limit that sine wave, there's not much work that needs to be done. You feel me? Like when you're limiting it, you're just gonna have to limit it a little bit and it's gonna sound big, right? It's already pretty much as efficient as it can be as far as a waveform goes. But let's say you put OTT on the map. No, let's not even do OTT. Let's do multiband dynamics. And let's put that before the oscilloscope, okay? We're not even doing OTT. Let's even just turn it down. We're gonna use let's say you're one of those guys, I like a little bit of OTT on my master. That's fine if you wanna fuck your mix up. But look at what that does to the waveform. That's very minor. If you move that crossover down, look at how fucked up it gets, right? That's what it's doing to your subs. So when you hear your songs on a big system with the master chain, you have one of these puppies on doing 0. It's on 0, guys. 0. Your sub's not hitting the same way as everybody else's because of that. Look at what it's doing to the phase. It's crazy, right? And again, if you do OTT, it's a whole different story. So it's doing that, right? And it's just making it hard. So when you're going to your limiter, you're not efficient, and you're slamming the limiter to get to that same place that everybody else is getting to right when they press one note, and you're already kind of. So this is getting nerdy. I get that. I'm gonna do one more thing. Let's say you take like drums and you do a drum bus and you pan. Let's say you're a guy who pans. So that's the first thing that I notice. And I'm not even saying monitor more visually. I'm just saying stay away from stuff if you don't need it. You know what I'm saying? Like by putting that multiband on for 10% to add a little bit of like magic to your shit, because some guy on YouTube is like, hey, if you add a little bit of multiband, it's gonna glue your mix together. No, it's not. It's gonna fuck your mix up. It's gonna distort the phase of your mix. Every single time you do something in this shit, there's byproducts. So let's take another example, okay? I'm gonna pan this to the left, right? This is gonna, so that's like the loudness thing and the phasing thing, right? It kind of breaks your kick drum, then it breaks your sub bass, it breaks, like multiband can do that, right? And I was saying to you earlier, I was like, when my friends were sending me demos with master chains on, the width of the mix wasn't wide. They're like, well, I'm hitting it with stereo wideners. The meters say it's wide. Why doesn't it feel wide? Why doesn't my sub bass feel deep? Well, that's the sub bass answer right there. Why does the mix not feel wide? I'll show you exactly. So there's all these people that do this shit with like ozone, and this is another like YouTuber thing these guys do. And they'll take, they'll tell you to do this. Like, make sure your shit's mono. If you're just using a mono kick drum and you're using a mono sub, you don't have to do this because you're already in mono. But people do it. And look at what happens. Let's shut it off. I'm going to pan this to the left. Let me just solo it. And we're going to look at the master on the meter. Right? Look at that on the left. It's coming out of the left speaker, right? Normal. Let's do this. What the fuck is that? That's your stereo width going to shit, right? There is nothing happening. I'm monoing this, and now all of a sudden the shaker's appearing on the right side. That's weird. Okay, but it doesn't stop there. Let's do a mid-side move on just the shaker. Let's just do mid-side EQ, or even some sort of like stereo change to the shaker. Let's go mid-side. Oh, well, this guy on YouTube told me to cut my sides on everything. Great, do it. Look what happens. Okay, it's fine there, but look at it on the master. If I do it on the master, look at what happens. The whole record stereo imaging starts to collapse upon itself. There it is, back on the right now. You don't hear it. I don't hear it on the right, but it's there. So there's this random signal now happening on the right side of the mix that we don't necessarily even hear. So what is that doing? It's hurting your loudness. It's hurting your stereo width. Any move you make in mid-side is going to do this, by the way. Watch. You can see it, right? Second I shut this bad boy off, look at how that goes away. So those mid-side things you're doing on the master is closing your stereo width, right? So I could go on for hours about shit that, like, artifacting and, like, weird shit that's happening because of, like, your over-processing stuff. And I think it's okay to over-process elements because that's what makes them exciting. All those artifacts are what makes things interesting on a bi-channel basis, right? But when you get into the bus and you get into the master and you start doing those things, the mix collapses in, it becomes smaller, it feels less wide, it feels less deep, less exciting. You know, you get artifacts, aliasing, stuff like that, which I could go into. We could be here for an hour and I could show you every single weird thing that all these plugins do. It's a waste of time. I'm just saying when it comes to mixing, when it comes to being creative, slam the shit out of everything. 30 OTTs, go crazy, you know, all that kind of stuff. Just keep that on that channel. But when it comes to the master and the buses, be much more particular on what you're using because it's coloring your mix in a very negative way and it's causing effects that you're not noticing. But when you compare your music to other people's, it's going to not hit right. And you're going to ask yourself, am I not good at this? Why do I suck at this? You know what I'm saying? And it's not you. It's just the fact that some idiot on YouTube is like, hey, if you boost your mids 1 dB into sides, that's a common trick for mastering engineers. And it's like, it might be a common trick for mastering engineers, but that's to fix somebody's mix on a mastering level. You have access to the mix right here. You want the shit to sound wider, say to myself, okay, the drop needs to be wider. I'm going to go on the drop and I'm going to widen those elements in the drop. Stop trying to fix that shit down here, you know? That's it. I'd love to watch that stream of rambling one day. I'm done for now. That's enough rambling. I always struggle with choosing wavetables and serum. I like learning about music by recreating songs I like, and sometimes I cannot recreate certain sounds. Any tips on finding best wavetable? I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's cool to try to recreate songs that you like, and I'm not giving you an opinion on that because your question is how do I choose wavetables, but I don't make music like that. I make music by experimenting. You know, when it comes to making sounds in Serum, I'm usually trying to come up with something that sounds interesting. So I don't really think about like what other people are using. I think about what sounds good, and to get to that result, it's turning knobs. And to give you a quick answer on wavetable, I'll give you, and we're gonna do 2 more questions after this, and then we're gonna dip. But I'm gonna show you. Let me open a new project actually. Hold on 1 second. Let me open a new project because this is just dogging this shit down. I think we're done with the record. Nobody's talking about the record anymore, so we're done with the record. If you guys want, please stream the record. Save it. You know, we got added a Nasty Bits Arya. It's back on.
Let's go.
So that's cool. So please stream it and show love. I appreciate y'all playing it. Thank you for that. So let's get back. Now that I have some speed here. Yeah, look at how fast it's moving now. It feels great. So to counter what I just told you about the wavetables, let's do some stuff. Let's open up Serum. Yeah, thank you for being here. Please hit that follow button on Twitch, by the way, guys, if you haven't already. Really important. I think it's hard to pick wavetables when you open up the synth and you like go through the wavetables. Here's a bunch of custom ones I made a long time ago. Right, there's like that, right? Like that's kind of cool, but it's like, is this cooler? I don't know if it's cooler. It all sounds the same, and I think when you start going through all these, I've been kind of getting away from this kind of sound design for a while. But like when you start going down this list and you start flipping through them, you're like, how do I know what's cool? Like it just, none of it sounds cool. It just sounds like fucking noise, you know? It sounds like a weird robot, you know? So, Arya, I gotta give you another link, right? So you can stay a part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta route the audio to him. Cause
Thank you, bro.
Because the way we're doing the stream, this shit don't really work as well as you would like. It's connecting. The internet's been a little shitty today here.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. You should be back. So I don't really hear this and feel inspired. I don't hear these and feel inspired. Maybe if I'm making like dubstep, maybe, but like I don't hear that shit and get inspired necessarily. So what I suggest to get a better result is to break everything. So I think it'd be really cool to do this and have 3 OTTs on it, and then we start going through. Let's not even do that. Let's do like, what else can we put on it? We could put like a disperser on it. And instead of just having one disperser, it'd be cool to have like, oh, that's up here. It'd be cool to have like 5. Let's do like 5.
Damn.
Because why not, right? Like, why the fuck not? Let's do like 5 of them. Let's move a couple of them around a little bit. So I don't really necessarily think about wavetables when I'm sound design. I think it's boring. Let's do a saturator, and let's go like that. Let's slam that, and then let's do like an EQ, and let's just cut the lows, boost the highs. Then let's do another saturator, and then let's do the opposite EQ here, like this. And now let's pick a wavetable and see what happens. Now we're having fun. So to me, I think it's way cooler to do something like that, to pick a wavetable. Yeah, erosion, amp, just throw the kitchen sink at it, right? Let's back these down a little bit. That might be a little too much. This is probably a little too much. Let's take this down a little bit, but you get the idea. And now we can start going through here, and like now these wavetables are gonna sound so different. Like, let's do this. Now to me, each thing sounds so different and so much more fun. So I think, to me, I would work backwards and not worry about the wavetable. I would start at the end and figure out what you want it to be like, you know, through the processing, and then pick the wavetable. Because who the fuck knows the difference between like this and that? Like,
Yeah.
that sounds hard as hell. Like, that's crazy, you know? And we haven't even touched the synth. We haven't done nothing. So to me, that's way more fun. I think it's way cooler to go crazy like that. Now we can probably start doing like peak filters and shit like that. We could probably come up with some cool results, like a notch filter. You know, whatever. You know, that's the. I don't want to sit here and sound design too long, but like every change I make is like so much more impactful now, and like every wavetable I flip through is gonna be so different. You know. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. So I don't really think like that. Personally, when I make music, I just fuck shit up and see, or just try to make something cool. I just try to get to a result that's interesting and try to figure out what that result could become, you know, in a song. So that's my 2 cents on that. I think that's it. I got nothing else to say. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I love y'all. Blast Janet. You're not in your disc. You're not in your stream. That shit does not work in here. Oh, there she goes. She got it. Okay. I was like, I don't know if I have that. Love you guys. Thank you guys so much for pulling up. Arya, thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me, bro. I appreciate
thanks
you.
for turning in such a great demo, and we were able to finish it to something cool. And
Yeah,
I'm
man.
really thankful that we met. So
Yeah.
I will talk to you guys soon. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.